Welcome everyone. Today we have another very special guest for you, Gabriela da Silva, and she will explain what she thought during the game that she played against ECPRO10, aka Ethan Chua. And this game was played last Tuesday during the adults versus the youth competition of ESV, and we were very happy to see this very entertaining and quite complicated game. So welcome, Gabriela.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm really glad to participate and to learn from you guys.
All right. Yeah, let's start. Let's look at the game. So ECPRO10 starts with E4, and you play E5, and then we get a very common setup here with Bishop C4. And normally people play either this, knight f6, which is a little bit complicated, can be a little bit complicated after knight g5. Of course, if white plays it, this will get very complicated. I think people start b5, maybe other moves, but this can be quite complicated. So bishop c5, I think, is most commonly seen, and from there on you get either a quiet game with maybe c3 and d3, or you get a very complicated game with b4. But instead we saw h6, and we were a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah. So I have played that because I thought to avoid the knight comes to that to this one. So I thought to avoid that move. Naturally, for us the best one, but indeed I knew that also is most common to put the peon on the d5. So I wasn't that sure, but I have preferred there. Wasn't a good decision. What do you guys think about that?
It's a loss of time.
Yeah.
And it is weakening, and it is not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think bishop c5 is probably the easiest move to play.
Yes, I would recommend this move. The problem with h6 is, it's slightly weakening indeed, but especially loss of time. So white will maybe play d4, and then you're almost forced to take already, right? If you play, for instance, this move, you will run into trouble. Oops, right?
No, not that yet, because the knight.
Oh, the knight is here. Oh, oops, you're right. Yeah, still covered, but this is not. Let's change the move order.
You win a pawn. Yeah.
Well, this pawn. But if you play takes, and then if you just count pieces, white is already ready to castle next move, and there's already two pieces in play, and black is not. So I would say that white has already a substantial advantage here.
Yeah, indeed. I think this move indeed did not develop much in terms of pieces.
Yeah, it's a bit slow indeed.
Okay.
But we see moves like h6 or h3 often, but it's not necessary. So it's a good idea to avoid it. It's usually not necessary.
How about d5? It wouldn't be a good approach.
d5. Yeah, d5 is the idea of black in these structures often, but here you can just take it probably by the bishop actually.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the idea is indeed what black often wants in these types of structures. But right, if you play with knight f6 and d5 at some point. But it has to be well timed.
You need some preparation for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you have also these types of ideas. I'm not saying that they work, right? That you can take here and for instance, maybe I should do this instead. Then you can play d5. It's also sometimes Yeah, that's a very common tactical idea here.
But in case I play, let's suppose I play the knight indeed f6.
Yeah, this is very complicated after.
That's not good. Exactly. Yes, that was what I thought, because to put to move to h6 was because of that. But indeed, I could play something more that could develop my game more.
Yeah. I think even d6 is probably better, but it's also a bit passive. Yeah. But okay, let's move on. So you played h6, and white played d3, and then knight f6, which I think is an excellent idea.
Yeah.
And you're lucky that white plays very quietly, so then h6 is less of a disadvantage.
Indeed, yeah. After d3, h6 is also not so good yet, but now it actually serves a purpose because it covers those moves. Castle, and then I would still expect here a bishop move. Maybe this one, maybe this one, maybe this one. A little bit strange maybe to go to b4, but one of these squares I think makes the most sense. And instead we got a6. Which is also I would say it doesn't do anything for the center yet. Doesn't develop a piece. So it's not a bad move, it's just a little bit early, I would say.
Yeah, the priority should be in castling. That's maybe the problem.
Do you mean what do you mean exactly? To rock, to the rock, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I think in general I have the habit to use to play in the extremities, let's say, in order to avoid the bishop comes to b5, for instance, or the knight on g5.
Yeah.
And then it's like a defensive move, but not sure of the quality of the move. But you guys already mentioned that is not that is slow down the game. So I would think twice before that then.
Yeah, I think for instance here, if I think white can still play d4 probably quite quickly already. But also just develop a piece maybe here or maybe here. I think those are good moves. A3 I would say is also a bit slow. I understand the move because if you don't do it, then in some circumstances,
Yeah, but it's not possible. So
indeed, it's not possible.
Cases,
I understand the idea, but it's also too slow. I would say yes, for the same reason.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you get a retreat square for your bishop, but for white's bishop, but it's also a bit slow. I would just develop a piece here. Maybe this move, maybe this move.
Knight c3 is very natural.
Yeah.
So I think both sides are taking precautions for things which are not a threat.
Yeah.
So a6 is in itself a good move later, because bishop b5 is not a threat. So if you play bishop c5 first, so maybe if you can go back one move, and then bishop b5, then you can simply play d6, no problem at all.
Covered.
Covered.
Yeah, but what in general I have some doubts is because let's say bishop takes the knight here, and then I have really like this column is really like empty column. I don't know. I don't like much in general that. What about this?
I would say I like this very much because I have here a very nice piece.
Yeah, now the pin becomes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. You also have the two bishops, especially Jochem is very fond of that. So just exchanging a bishop for a knight is usually seen as not a good idea, unless you have a very specific idea. And this pawn structure indeed has some weaknesses, but it also it gives you much more influence on the center. So white is playing two moves, bishop b5, taking on C6.
Yeah, three moves even, because he came from
even
C4.
3, yeah,
Yep.
just to strengthen black's position.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good that you ask, but these are things that I see often in players who are still gaining experience, that they are afraid of this, but there is no reason for this. On the contrary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a point to it, because if you, for instance, exchange all pieces, or close to that, then this might really become a weakness, but not yet.
Okay.
Or if there would be a rook here that could attack him, something like that, but that is not yet the case. So I wouldn't say those are very weak pawns yet. They can become weak, but I'm not so afraid of that.
Yeah, I think the advantage of the 2 bishops and the influence on the center are more important.
Yeah.
That makes chess very interesting, that you have, say, pros and cons. And in this case, I think the pros for you are heavier, are more important.
It's like a trade-off indeed.
Yeah, so A3 and then B5, which is, I would say, logical. That's at least the idea of A6, I suppose, also to gain some space on the queen side of the board. Bishop B3, and then D5.
That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
We know you that you do have a lot of courage, but this is maybe a little bit too much of a courage.
Yeah, the reason, so in principle, this is again a good idea. So in principle, you want this to happen, I think. But the problem is more concretely that your king is still in the middle.
Okay. Yeah. And indeed, this was one of the I postponed my rock, and I think this was one of the main reasons that make me lose the game, I'd say, because then I don't know what at some point I said is a good idea to rock now, or I should do that, and then I always prefer to do the other thing. So I have this problem in general. I say no, I will rock later, and then at some point it's too late.
Yes.
So that's the reason that this castling, as the name in English is.
Castling. Okay.
Yeah. You should do this as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because here, if you say defend by f6, which already looks extremely ugly because of the diagonal, white can already win a pawn by d4. Because you cannot take, because the rook and the king are on one line.
Yeah.
Even if something like this might already be, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
But this is a common mistake. It's so common that in a nice book that I'm reading by a strong grandmaster on openings of this kind, he thinks it's important to warn readers for making this move at this stage. I mean, again, the move in itself is very strong after you do your castling.
Yeah, if you have your bishop here and your king nicely castled here, I would say d5 is an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Understood.
White plays something else.
So lucky for you.
Yeah, indeed. And then bishop e6. I think
it's a very good move. Yeah, this supports your center.
Yeah, I think white can still play roughly same idea, right?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, there is no way to avoid it. Yeah, maybe taking on e4 or this. Yeah.
Or in this one. This one I find most logical because it tries at least to keep it closed.
Yeah, so in this particular position, because you haven't castled yet, you have to do this. But in general, if you would have castled, bishop e6 is much more natural,
yes.
fluid. Yeah. So what you do now is you put your pieces on the right place, and please keep doing that in your next games. But castle first and then do those nice moves.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So in general, what was the huge mistake so far was, let's say, is the peon on the weak positions there in the extremes, right?
Yes.
And
the rook.
also
Yes.
not castling.
Yeah.
Okay.
A4. So white still does not take, and then b4, which I think is a nice idea because of, yeah, you want to keep it closed,
Mm-hmm.
and this pawn was attacked, right, by
Mm-hmm. Yes.
two pieces.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then white plays knight e2.
Mm-hmm.
So white also tries to keep it closed. I would try and see if I can make taking work, but he didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop d6. I think I like this type of move as well. Just strengthening your position here in the center, developing a piece, and getting ready to castle here. I think it's a good move. Takes, and then take with the pawn. I find this most.
White had to do something because now you were ready to take on e4, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah, possible. It's a bit tricky still, but
it's
yeah. So white took indeed. Knight takes. I find this the most logical also. C4. And I would like to focus a little bit more on the moves of black in this game, in this analysis. Knight of 6. I think this also makes sense. During the analysis, we thought about knight f4, but yeah, after taking, and they have maybe d4, and then white is a very nice center, and is already threatening this fork. So indeed, knight of 6 looks good. And in general, how would you, after, let's say, bishop e3, what would you say about this position? What are the characteristics?
You mean, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, so I mean, like, how would you say someone is has a better position, or would you say that it's roughly equal? Or
You mean the bishop, my position of the bishops? Not sure if I understood.
well, in general, right? So if you had to choose, who would you choose here to play the white pieces or the black pieces?
Oh, okay. I would, yeah, because I think if I the white, because he castle and looks more defended compared to mine, even though my center looks better in this right now. So there is those 2 points, I'd say. But considering the first you need to defend after attack, considering that the white.
Yeah, I also like white a little bit more, but I think I'll go for d4 quite soon. But maybe it's not that much. Anyway, black plays queen e7 here to, I think, yeah, so suppose that you castle, which I think is the most obvious move. Then you were afraid of this move, or?
Yeah. What I did after that was, let me just see.
No, you played the queen to
You
e7.
played queen e7, but so I'm wondering what. So you played all your minor pieces are now out, in the game. Nice places. And I would say the next order of business is to get your king to safety. Of course, you have to check whether that works, right? And one of the things that white could do is maybe d4 or c5.
Yeah, I did not guess so, I think, because of this bishop here. I wasn't sure for now, but one of the things that came in my mind is which side I should castle.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really a big doubt during the game. Not I would say this question came a bit later, but I wasn't sure for which side was the best approach. I'm not sure if I thought this at this point during the game, but yeah, I think I seeing now, yeah, it would be the obvious indeed. It would be castle here right now.
Yeah, you have to check, right, what happens here, because
Yeah, but you can just take on b3,
yeah,
attacks the
Mm-hmm.
queen, then it's
Yeah.
hot. I don't think there's anything special here.
no, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
Black is just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder when you had this position, how did you feel yourself about the position? Were you happy or just playing?
Right now,
Yeah,
I thought to keep. I think I put what I play was e7.
Queen e7. Yeah,
Yeah, queen e7. So I thought to defend my bishop in case the pawn comes to c5, and I could take that. So that was my thought. But indeed, this was my concern. But I think I could castle. That's it. So I focus too much in defending my bishop right now because I was feeling he would attack me
yeah,
yeah,
with the peon, and yeah, that was my thought. But I can now see would be much better, and probably at this point, if I castle, I'd be better than him in terms of configuration and structure. Yeah, I think I would pass him in terms of that because I have two bishops in the center. I have castle. Let's suppose I did, and then would be better at this point.
yeah. Maybe,
Consider his game.
maybe even,
Yeah,
yeah, it's possible.
yeah.
yeah.
But indeed, I worked too much to focusing to keep my bishop a bit more stronger here
Yeah,
and put.
and you did
But
have some foresight because that was exactly what happened. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, the problem with Queen e7 is also that the bishop on d6 has no place to go back.
there's no retreat
Yes,
square now.
I thought on that, but I said maybe if he played that, I could take the peon. He would take also mine, but I would keep um, my the queen. Uh, I would take with the queen, so I thought wouldn't be a big problem in that case. But indeed, it's a
But it
big
was a big problem. We'll see.
yeah
Yeah,
later.
c5,
Exactly.
bishop takes c5, which is now suddenly forced. But maybe
Hmm.
because if you do this, maybe there's this intermediate move. I didn't really calculate this, so I saw this now.
Sorry.
Oh, maybe this is not. Yeah, let's not make it too complicated. But after
Yeah,
Hmm.
c5, I thought maybe if you take here,
Hmm.
then maybe white can also take here.
Yeah, I think at some point, I'm not sure if I thought on that at the moment, but I could take with what I don't like in general, but I could take with the peon here and keep my queen protecting the bishop.
Yes, yes,
yeah,
then I
But
understand. But then
it's not that good.
yeah, then this point is not so right. Then this
Mm-hmm.
move, because the point of this move was to be able to take it here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but here we see also some other factors here, and that's the C file that is now one
Yeah.
is now hammering down on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This one, I at that point I did not think about that because I was expecting he would take my bishop with his bishop, so um, he would do c5
Yeah,
with his bishop. Was thinking on that,
but
but yeah, I yeah
let's consider something like this is also quite dangerous, right?
yes
Or
yeah that's
maybe even do this
yeah
first. is also getting quite dangerous, because if you move back here, let's say to d6, which might be most normal, then white can also play queen c2 again, and right, and if you have to cover this knight with king d7, then you are really in trouble, I think, because then at some point he will play d4 and get another rook in the game.
Indeed. The point here, I think, was I tried to keep attentive to that, but in this case I didn't, was to don't let pieces without being defended. And in this case was what happened, because when I keep like that, in that position, since he put the he played, I think, c1.
No, he already played queen c2.
No, yeah. So in that case, with the queen, he could attack my bishop and my knight. So, and the mistake here was because the knight is like without any protection and not being defended.
Yeah.
I think that was the big mistake.
Yeah, and there's another thing, which is your king, because if that was not the case, you could play this maybe.
Sorry,
if you had castled, then you could play this maybe, and but now there's a problem because this comes with check.
Yeah. That's true. So things I have learned here was basic things like defended, keep my pieces defended first, castle as much as early as possible, and keep my pieces defended, being attentive to that, and not how, I'm not sure how can I call it, but not keeping pieces in sequence like that. I think it's not a good approach. I'm not sure if there is a name for that, but yeah, I would say this is something I should avoid.
Yeah, you see these tactical ideas, and especially younger players are very good at trying to see these exploit these things if they see them.
There's a story, Gabriella, about a grandmaster, John Nunn, a really strong grandmaster, playing against a very strong club player. And this club player was really playing at the highest national level. And they played 100 5-minute games.
Okay.
And the grandmaster won 80 out of 100 times. And why? Because there would be one piece undefended, and the grandmaster always spotted a way to win this undefended piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think John Nunn is also the person that coined the term LPDO, right? Loose pieces drop off.
Loose pieces drop off. That is exactly what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jochem knows his classics, Gabi.
Doesn't translate to rating points, unfortunately. But
the same applies to me, Jochem. So you can virtually shake hands.
All right. So yeah, white black plays bishop takes b3, which I think is a good attempt to lure away the queen from this sensitive c file. And then a5, which I found quite strange.
Yeah.
For the same reason, right? Now you get a chance to somehow, these guys are not feeling all right. Because of this c file pressure, this is the next move, no matter what you play, more or less. And now you get a chance to do something about it. So maybe you can, I don't know what you should play, but maybe even bishop d6.
Yeah, indeed. It was really not good indeed. I thought to keep this peon more defended, but I don't know why I thought on that, because it's already covered.
1, 2, 3, 4 times defended.
Exactly.
3 times for you.
No, I analyzed it afterwards, after the game, And I realized that by myself why I did that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Again, I think this idea is very good. It's just that it's not timed correctly. Yeah. Because
yeah,
this is the urgent thing that's happening on in this.
exactly. Would be a priority indeed.
Yeah. Or your king.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was about priority indeed. I agree.
Well, all of life is about priorities.
A5.
Yeah.
Rook
Yeah, now
AC1.
Queen C4 is even stronger.
Oh, okay. I've not looked at the game in that much
Yeah.
detail. This
Yeah, but it's for the reason that you just mentioned, that bishop takes E3 is not possible because of queen takes C6 to check. That's the reason.
Yeah.
And then, although I don't drink any alcohol, I think it's time to take a beer and think about the next game.
Yeah. It came a question in my mind a bit before that. What would be the best thing to do? Castle or take the bishop, his bishop, for instance.
Yeah, that you can also do.
What would be the best?
I think that you can probably afford to castle and not take the bishop, because after taking the bishop and then f takes e3, white also gets the open f file. So knight h4, knight f5 becomes might become nasty.
Yeah, I think if you can get away with it, a move like bishop d6 or if you can get away with castling, for sure it's the best move, I think.
Yeah.
If it
Okay. Before do anything else with the. Even though he could could attack again my bishop.
Yeah, for instance,
maybe you're forced. To do this anyhow. Yeah.
Yeah. Now at least this move doesn't come with check, so now you have some maneuvering space.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's also why I said actually that I like maybe this move, although it's a bit slow.
Yeah, I see. But indeed, the peon, was a bit out of context. Indeed.
Yeah. Rook AC1, knight D7. Yeah, I really think that you have to take here. I think that's the only move. Right, something like this. And if he takes with the pawn, then you have to move this knight to a bad square, but maybe go here to go here at some point to E6. But yeah, this does not work. I think Queen D5 here is very strong.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look at the.
Or maybe first take.
Queen D5. No, I think Queen D5 is. Yeah, so probably take first.
Take first.
And
then Queen D5.
So you're attacking two knights at the same time.
Yeah, and it's very hard to. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, because my queen still. My queen, no, he could check, do check again. And still attacking my knight with two pieces. So indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I'm defending that with my queen, but it's not enough.
Yeah, and this guy is also attacked.
Yeah, knight d7 looks nice, actually defending, but what white does by exchanging on c5 is making the strong knight weak by putting it on a place where it's already attacked. So knight on c6 has no defender. The knight on c5 is almost as bad because it is defended one time, but also attacked one time. So it's like a balance, a +1 and a -1. So the net defense is 0.
Yeah. For both of
That's
them.
also a way of thinking.
Yeah.
So in fact,
Mhm.
you have basically almost 2 undefended pieces, and that's why it double attacks. So if you
Yeah.
avoid such weaknesses, you will see that you get much more success at chess.
Yeah.
Because many mistakes come from this.
Yeah.
For all players, all players.
I thought of this, but then I have to calculate what happens here. I didn't want to do it.
Oh, my queen takes c6 is very strong because, yeah, but then you go with check again, check,
Yes.
check, check.
And now you
So
see
you
the
win a piece.
undefended king, or the uncastled king, I should say. Yeah. Indeed, I think both moves work, but bishop takes c5 first is probably a bit cleaner. But, yeah. Okay, so queen c4, and then bishop takes e3, and I think he has to take here. That threatens the rook with check. So if you take his rook, then take here, take, and then in the end you're a piece up with white. So I think here it's already after queen c4. Did we see a move here still, Alessandro?
No, this is winning for this reason.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe indeed there are many good moves here that we discussed. But yeah, you're a bit lucky that he plays f takes e3, which is the most obvious move. So yeah, indeed, a good trial to at least get him to make a mistake like that by playing a move like bishop takes e3 when the most obvious recapture is not so good. Knight db8.
Yeah, but yeah, you may be lucky, but also you're not responsible for the moves of your opponent.
Indeed.
It's one of my favorite sayings.
Yeah.
bd8. Yeah, keeping his knight under control, defended.
I was trying to defend.
Knight g3, g6. Now this is possible but a bit weakening, but I understand, yeah, if you castle, then you get knight. I already see knife f5. This is in my system, of course. It's a knight f5, but in English you can also call it a knife f5. This is also quite bad. Yeah, these knights here are forever, for the moment at least, they have to defend like this. That means that the rook on a8 cannot play. And white is free to start an attack, maybe queen g4 at some point. Yeah, it's quite difficult already. So I understand why you played g6. Rook ce1, and then f5.
Well, that's again a lot of courage to play that.
Yeah.
But this is on, well, the category don't try this at home. Because it's really dangerous.
Yeah. What I really remember what came in my mind at this point, because I thought I was considering already to try to find a way to castle to the other side in order to keep. I don't know if it was the best thought.
No. I think you should not even think about it. With your pawns on a5 and b4, there is no cover, no shield.
Sorry, Alessandro?
So the pawns on a5 and b4 are already far advanced, but they should play at their initial position to protect your king. So you should not even think about castling to the other side.
Yeah. If you look, for instance, at the game of Yi Chen and Bassa, there we had the comment that since black played his pawns up to g5 and b5, that he would have a difficult time. And I think that is not always true, but very often the case. And if you place your pawns on the third rank, like on the fourth rank like that, on the fifth rank, yeah, then you should not castle there anymore. More or less, it's not always true. Of course, in chess, every rule has exceptions, but castling on this side of the board and the queen side would be for me quite dangerous. Even after, that's also why I don't like f5 so much. I think f5 is an okay move, except that it ignores the king too much.
Yeah. But at this point, I thought indeed, should I castle? That's why I mentioned I postponed too much to castle, and what I thought here was to protect, to avoid the knights came to attack that side.
Here.
So, but yeah, it could still go to here, but I was trying to avoid it to give a check in my king. Queen, no, in my, I forgot the name. E7, what the pass? The piece?
Queen.
The queen.
The queen, okay. So the queen. So basically, if the knight comes in f5, it could attack my queen. And then I was trying to avoid, to avoid that move with the g6.
Yes.
And with the f5, what I thought at this point.
The knight to
was
e4. Yeah.
Sorry? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I think you're too preoccupied with what your opponent does. Now, of course, you should always watch what your opponent does, but you're forgetting about your own king.
Yeah.
So you're taking precautions which are, well, do more harm to you than what you're trying to prevent.
Yeah, I thought during the game, a feeling that I had is because I thought all the game being attacked since the beginning. So I'm not sure if, and this is more or less what I feel playing with majority of the players. So I'm not sure if my style of play or of playing is something that gives me that feeling, but in general, I'm awareness that in general when I'm playing, I'm always like trying to I don't have, maybe it's like a lack of technique in order to attack the others.
Well, there is a book by an American trainer, Jeremy Silman, a very well-known trainer, and it's called The Amateur's Mind, and he shows games of players like you, and they all have the same fear that someone else is trying to do things. They're trying to react to that rather than playing their own game. So you're not the only one thinking like that, but you should get rid of it, but it is hampering.
Yeah, you should consider it, but you should what the opponent is trying to do, but you should consider it objectively. Yeah, so that is very difficult. So some players like to make mistakes and where they ignore their opponent and underestimate it, and some players overestimate their opponent's chances.
What is the correct mindset in this case? Because I think your how can I say, your what you would play depend on the others, no? Depending what the strategy of the other. So, but you are saying that I should take into consideration, not in an extreme way, but what is the best mindset?
Well, play your own game and see that. Look at make your own plans and don't step back when your opponent makes a move and threatens something. In many cases, the threat is not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
That's the mindset.
So I think, for instance, in so that is where it becomes difficult. I think G6 is a good move, but I think F5 is not a good move because I judged that here this would be a considerable threat. But here I do not think that this is a considerable threat.
So let's maybe do so. Let's see, castle at knight e4.
Oh, excuse me. Yes.
Right. Then knight e4. So knight f6 is no threat yet. You can simply take it. So you have time to do something else. So you can play king g7, for example. And if need be, you can play f6 if you must. And everything is covered.
Yeah, that's true.
and then you can play your. So maybe, yeah, white can play lots of things. Maybe what you should do is then play the knight from c6 to d8 and e8, but f6 would help because it covers the pawn on e5.
Yeah.
And perhaps f5 would be good here to push the knight back, but yeah, the knight could go to c5, so you have to be careful about that as well.
Maybe at some point, that's possible, but yeah.
Or another thing you could do is instead of f6, because it's weakening, you can play knight to d8. So maybe, and then rook to a6, because it also covers all the squares.
Yeah, let me try and get rid of the arrows. Yeah, let's suppose that white moves this or plays here first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can do this, and then you can move this guy away, this knight, and then you can swing this rook across the third rank. But there are some ideas, and then maybe you can play knight d7 at some point. Also possibility. Yeah, but you have some ideas, but this is not. Yeah, getting white and knight here is not fatal. So I wouldn't spend time to play f5 while you still have your king in the middle.
I just in doubts about the peon on f6 after let's say I castle, and then f6 would be and let's say I put also yes. So now if I play f6 with my peon, wouldn't be
also,
a good idea, isn't it? Because
you can play knight c5. That's.
The problem is every pawn move weakens. Every pawn move gains space, but every pawn move also weakens. So in this case, Alessandro is saying this is a weakening move because it weakens two squares, the g6 square and the e6 square. And because pawns cannot move backwards, those are weak for the rest of the game. So if you play f6, that's fine. You gain control here and here, but you lose control here and here. And I think here knight c5 can be quite annoying because, how can you cover e6? And you have to play a move like that. And then it starts to get a little bit ugly. Maybe again, it's not fatal, but yeah.
Then the other, or the other knight from d2 then comes to e4.
Yeah, indeed.
So
it's already quite difficult. Yeah. Again, maybe not yet fatal, but yeah. So this is why Alessandro doesn't like to play f6.
Okay. Yeah, and also because I get stuck with my with in g7 because I cannot come back or do something else with my with the queen. The queen, no, sorry. No, just in g7 I get stuck there. So I cannot, because since I moved to f6, his queen you attack that diagonal, so I get stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're not in the end game, so in the late phase of the game, the role of the king is to be safe. So playing with your king too much is not so smart because it will get attacked. In the end game, as soon as most pieces are gone, then your king will start to play an important role. But not yet.
Yeah.
So, king on g7 has two advantages. It also protects the pawn on h6. There's no check on f6, and if need be, you can move your f pawn.
Yes. So you get out of this pawn. It covers g6 also, right? In a sense.
Yeah.
What I meant is, if my pawn go to f6, wouldn't be a good thing because this diagonal will be open. I think. Is it correct?
Yeah, that's true. It also opens that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because then I get stuck on g7 with my the queen.
It's like a house, and you're opening all doors for thieves to come in.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Indeed. Also, this diagonal. Yeah. Indeed.
Yes. Exactly.
d4. So f5 and d4, and I think e4 is a very good idea. Try to keep it closed, right? You definitely don't want to take,
Yeah.
right? To invite the rook over. So I think e4 is a good idea. d5. Yeah, I found it very hard. It would not be the first move that comes to my mind, but maybe Alessandro has a different.
No, it's true. D5 is it's a bad move.
It's also bad. Okay.
Why?
Well, you can take on f3. Take on c6. You can take on g2. So removing defenders of the king. You can play rook a6.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can wait, first play queen f7.
The thing is, I'm a little bit afraid of the position opening up.
Yeah, but there's time. You can, but maybe queen f7 is safer. So rook a6 is an idea, which is hard to stop.
Yeah.
Maybe play this first.
Maybe this is better.
Castle.
Yeah. Castle next move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, and then this pawn will be weak.
Yeah. Although I think here he can play queen c5. Also, but yeah.
Yeah, but at least I can play this again.
Yeah, you can play games with white and see. But I think here the worst is over.
Yeah.
It's for black, and maybe black is would be a little bit better if you have time to.
Yeah, did you pay for something again? Yeah, that's true. So d5 and knight e5.
Which is also fine, I think.
Yeah, we have to calculate it. It's a bit complicated. Knight e5, queen e5, queen d4. And during the live stream, I mentioned that if I were in a 1-minute game, I wouldn't know how fast I would take this queen. This I have to do immediately. Because this transforms the entire game. I think now.
Really?
Yes, I think white or black is now winning actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the D pawns are very weak. They cannot defend themselves.
Yeah. What I thought at this point was if I take his queen, it will happen like I would. How can I say? Be open in the D column, and easily he could arrive on to arrive on the 8 or so. So I said I will try to take it in order to don't let this column the peons, two peons totally open, the column totally open to they come. So what it was my thought, but not sure.
Yeah.
I did until now. I didn't see that is not. Yeah, why is it not dangerous?
Yeah, so this pawn if a pawn here, for instance, this pawn, right? This pawn has no friends, no opponent pawns anymore here, 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 or here. So that means that it has a say. Yeah, of course there can be pieces capturing it, but no more pawns that can capture it. So this pawn is called a passed pawn. And why is it passed? Because it had passed all other pawns, right?
Okay.
This pawn is not a passed pawn because there's still a pawn on c7 that can still capture it. So this pawn is protected, right? And this pawn is not. This white pawn. So this pawn is much, much, much stronger than the white pawn.
Yeah.
There's another advantage that you have, which is that slowly some pieces start getting traded, and especially the queens, which means that we're heading to an endgame. And in an endgame, your king position, which has been a weakness the entire game because it was open and out in the open, is now actually an advantage because you can use your king now to play. And white has still, I mean, it's also not so bad, but white should still invest some time to activate this king. So I think black is much better here.
Yeah, that was my main thought, but indeed, I see the analysis here.
Yeah, so ideally, so this place, I would like to blockade. Ideally with a knight. So if I can play a knight here, that would be great. But yeah, that is difficult. That will take a lot of time. But I can put a rook here.
Yeah, and you can play knight d7 f6.
Yes, I can already attack this pawn. Yeah. So here I would probably play rook a6.
But I did not move. Wouldn't be a case to do the rock, the castle now?
No, that's something I would not do here anymore.
Because then I can, instead of move twice, the other, I could even just do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Possible, but if I would probably even prefer this move to keep your king more active.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the reason this might not be the best move. I don't think castling is ridiculous, but it's just something that I wouldn't do anymore, probably.
Yeah, in endgames, in endgames, your king should not be in the outside, but should actively help. So it should help here, perhaps with the d pawns, protect your c pawn.
Another interesting idea is
actually 5 moves. I would maybe play the king to d8, knight d7 f6, the rook from h8 to a7 and then d7, and Jochem's maneuver, the rook from a6 to from a8 to a6 and then to d6.
Yeah, I was also thinking here maybe you can castle long on the queen side, but
yeah, that's also an option here.
Because now this entire this castling we didn't do because the king would be unsafe because I moved black moved her pawns here, but
Yeah.
I think black is a lot better here. The only problem is this pawn here, which is slightly weak, but you can defend it quite easily, I would say.
Yeah, that's true indeed. I could have the chance to turn out the game. I think a few times during the during the match.
Yeah, but 97 is also a flexible move.
It's also a good move, I think. Yes, it's just that the structure I wanted to mention, which in a very in a short time control game, I would immediately play. I don't think that 97 is bad.
I think the only point is you do have an even stronger move.
Yes, yeah, indeed. But this is also quite strong, right? Because you, if you this,
that's killing. That's killing for white.
I'm not sure why and now you enter here, right?
Yeah.
At some point. It's also bad, also good for black. So white probably has to move his queen away, and then you can, you have basically placed your pieces quite well, and then you can castle. But I think going to the end game with queen times queen takes d4 is quite a strong idea. Anyway, white plays rook c1, and I think you should still do this. Although it's now not so strong anymore, because his pawn might be a little bit weak, but
you can still play my idea of king d8.
Yes.
But
then,
so that's
Yeah, but long castle.
But here you have to be careful about d6, because now d6 is an option. Apart from other things, queen e7. So.
Well, when I was analyzing that afterwards, that on that moment when I castle to the right side, this gives me an alarm that says, "Oh, it's really bad," because in that moment, my reading of it was, since I castle and my pawn is like being attacked, and also my king is being attacked now because I put myself on that situation. Is
Yeah.
it the right way to?
Yeah. This
Okay.
it's So in general, there's a long castling. So castling to the queen side has this problem of the a7 pawn. So
Yeah.
even if your pawns would not be so advanced, then that's the. So in general, short castling is safer.
Yeah, it's also far more common.
Yeah.
Right, and it has a couple of reasons. One is that indeed, yeah, long castling is not as safe because of the a7 pawn or the a2 pawn for white. It takes a move longer. For now, that does not matter anymore, but because you have to also get your queen out of the way. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit less common. You see it also, I guess you see it also happening more for the white player than for the black player. But I don't have any statistics, but that's my feeling. Yeah, because with the white pieces you have a bit more, maneuvering room, right? You have a little bit more space. You can afford such things a bit better. But here, I think, it's just your king is really wide open, and white plays the best move, I think. So no longer trading queens. If white had traded queens, you would be a genius, right? Because now your pieces are placed very, very well.
Yeah, but even there, rook to c5
Rook to
shows.
c5, yeah, it's still a bit complicated, but okay. Yeah, at least you get some access to some squares.
Yeah.
So white should definitely not do the queen trade here.
Yeah, and something I think is the same situation in different occasions, but I think that situation with my king and also the peon here was similar of the bishop and the knight being attacked at the same time. So could we compare like that, like in sequence I'm being attacked, or not sure if you guys understood.
Yeah, you have two things to defend: pawn on a5, and more importantly, the square on a8.
No, what I mean is I'm being attacked by the I think it's how can I say tower,
The rook.
not
The rook here.
the rook being attacked twice here. So it's similar comparing to the situation of the knight and bishop right? It's the same thought, let's say.
Yeah, only it is again 2 times defended, but it is so open. The king, with the queen. So an open position for the king with the queen around is very nasty.
Yeah, you always get a lot of checks indeed. Knight f6, I think, makes sense. But it's already, I think it is lost, and white plays knight takes f5, which is very creative.
I thought
A move that I would never play, but I think it's quite good.
Yeah. Sorry.
My idea here, if I had the white pieces, I would always play a rook move, I think, or maybe take here on a5, but get my other piece here into the game, my other rook, and then just pile up on the c7 square. But knight takes f5 is quite interesting.
Yeah. I think. Sorry.
You can take here, and then rook takes, and then if you take here, then you have a checkmate.
Yeah.
And if you move your queen away, then I can use the same trick yet again.
Yeah.
It's a very cute idea.
Yeah, indeed.
So you played, I think, a very good move. Knight takes d5, although still I think the position you cannot hold. Knight d4, knight e7, rook f7 is also quite strong, right? So you see how white uses all his entire army here to attack. All pieces are attacking. And here, use the pin. And, this is too much. You can indeed take a pawn, but this is anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the creative move that he gave indeed was like one of the best, I think, moves together with the rock on 7, f7, and this one with the knight was quite indeed unexpected for me, and I realized he'd like I take it to he conclude the checkmate here.
Yeah.
So if I take the knight, I think it was checkmate at this point, right?
Yeah, but you cannot take it, right? Because you're
not in this moment, but when it was f5.
Oh yeah. I think while you right, if you play here,
yeah,
then I think this is I didn't check this with the computer, but I think this is a very
it's
good move.
completely winning
Yeah.
for the reason that you gave.
Yeah, and you take yet another piece, and then you have to move again, and then you maybe play this move. Right, you just pile up on this pawn. You defend it again. I attack it once more.
Queen a8.
Oh, here queen a8 is already made. Yes.
Yeah.
And but if you play here, then queen a8 is also very strong. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very strong already.
And
you go here, and then I take check. Yeah, the take back, and then this is over. Too much material. Yeah, so I think after long castle here, castle queenside, I do not queen a7. I think white played very well to finish this game, and I think this moment you cannot hold it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lesson learned from, especially from the end of the game. I think was the long castle. Even though in the beginning of the game is not that ideal because I leave my 8-7 peon really unprotected, right?
Yeah, the default is the short castling the other side.
So this one, I think, is one of the lessons to do the safest castle. That is the short one.
Yeah.
And another one I think was I think it was the explanation from Johan saying about the peons here, that my peon comparing to him. I think when a bit before, when it was open, exactly that moment. So I like that analysis as well in order to compare if I should take his queen or no. So my evaluation in order to take his queen is afterwards, in case I take, how much benefits I have in terms of open up columns here. How can I say? Compared to him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I was clear, but I like the idea to see if there is in the others. Let's say I'm here in E4. There is no other pawn on closest columns. It means I can go. I am more free to go compared to him.
Yes.
Because I have the C7 to annoy him.
Yes.
So I think this also make me think more in order to do something, an action before. So it was a good thought as well. And also about the castle, the short castle. So from Alessandro. So I think those are two good things to think before to learn from that game.
All right.
From this game.
Thank you, Nalt, for the analysis, Gabriela, and also Alessandro. I would like to conclude this video. If you have interest in analyzing your game as well, please let us know. Then we will go over your game, and we wish you a very nice day. See you around.